It's actually a lot clearer.
Talk that hustle.
But what do I know?
How does this look though? Is this a good spot? Like fucking microwave right behind me and shit.
That's cool. Cause I can see you though.
Right.
That's the important part.
Indeed.
All right. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, world. We're here. Whether you want it or not, we are here. Welcome to the next chapter of our life. Love
Indeed.
us. This is where we get to be us unapologetically. So if we say anything that is, I'm not gonna say everything's gonna be factual, but if you disagree, if we're incorrect, if there's a place where we can be educated, we ask that you love us. And if you love someone, you educate them. You give them the facts, you give them the information. Don't cancel us.
You don't cancel them. You love somebody, you don't cancel.
Don't judge us. Don't disrespect us. We ask that you love us. With that said, I am Sema'j, aka Oxford Bully, aka you know the rest. And I'm here today with Ellex.
Leon Johnson, aka Ellex, the jet on the hat. You know.
But all that's out the way, thank God. How you feeling today? Right, how you feeling today?
I feel good, man. I feel all right, you know. Rough news today, but you know, we got another day, got another opportunity north of the grass, so I can't complain, man. How you?
Screw me, pause. I don't want to speed bump past the fact that you said we had a rough day today. So what's going
on? Well, I played, you know my story, but I'm repeating this, but I played for the Denver Broncos back in 2018, coming out of college. And one of my teammates was Demaryius Thomas. He passed, I guess, last night or this morning. Seizure, they say, may have been the cause. Happened in the shower, but it's just an unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. That dude's a special guy. Just embrace everybody, whether you was a upper tier person or if you was a free agent like myself. You feel me? Smiling 90% of the time you see him. Always had a laugh. He gave back to the community. You feel me? So big respect for that human. You know, he lives forever. You know how it is. We impact people here longer than we live. So that's how I'm looking at it. What he did for the kids in that area, the philanthropic work he did in the community, that stuff doesn't go away. The photos, right? Whoever invented the camera changed the world. The photos don't go away, so the feelings don't go away. The memories don't go away, so you're not really dead. It's just his human body don't work anymore.
That's such a dope approach to it. Unfortunately, I know death all too well. In terms of like loved ones, people I grew up with in the community, and even if you don't directly know the person, it still has an effect on you because people you do know that person. So like you're seeing their hurt and their scorn. I want to go back to the idea of like the impact he left, because like I always think about that. Like if I knew that like my time here is limited, like if I knew I only had 2 months left to live, what am I doing next? Like what am I going to do with that time? Am I going to continue as like a regular continue like the schedule as regularly planned, or am I going to change things? What's going to be important when I know I only have 2 months left? And that's interesting to me, especially when I'm thinking about everything you just said about DT or Demaryius Thomas. So, in terms of the time he had here, it sounds like you had a positive impact. So I want to hear about like some of the experiences, your personal experience that you had with him while you were out in Denver, because that was a new time for you. But also like I want to talk about what we would do if we knew we only had a borrowed time, because we are essentially on borrowed time.
Right. I mean, the first half of that question, I was a fan of a lot of the guys that's on the team. Like, I'm a Jets fan at heart, but Broncos, Terrell Davis, that era made me a fan. Vaughn and all those guys, like dudes that I played the video game with, I'm in the locker room with, and so that natural star struck, whatever you call it, but you bump into people that just break the ice, and he did that. Like it's just like, oh shit, that's such and such. You walk up to him, it's like, oh shit, he's just a person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just when my anxiety was high, I'm around a new team, I'm in the NFL, all these stars around. You bump into him, and he's like, "What's up, bro?" Tap you, dap you. Shit, cool, yo. It's not many people like that. It's not many people like that. There's a lot of great athletes in the NFL, but it's not a lot of
great people.
It's not a lot of people that can impact you like that. Like that. Yeah, man. I mean, you could see the responses to the guys that played when them guys that played against them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Love. Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm thinking about this is like on a total tangent. I'm thinking about the idea of like starting something new and not understanding the impact you're going to have on other people. So
right.
By you going to the Broncos, the time you went to the Broncos, I think that was the same time when I went to Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 different markets, 2 different industries, 2 different sectors, but at the same time, how we performed affected other people.
Indeed.
So what I mean by that is like it affected Black people. Like, actually, I'll bring it back from race. It affected people at Temple. So by you going there to Denver affected the next Temple athlete who would essentially go to Denver Broncos. Be at the company on the floor that I was working on, excuse me, on the floor I was working on, I was the only Black individual, the only Black male. The only Black people I used to see during the day were people who were janitors or like the security at the front desk. So there used to be certain days where, not that the work was challenging or anything, but I felt that I was getting a different treatment or it was a different vibe for me because like their culture was not my culture.
Right.
Certain days was just like you want to revert back to like what your comfort zone is, and you start treating it. You don't treat it as if you don't treat it essentially like it was something you prayed for. Like essentially, you go into NFL with something you prayed for. Like it was something you really wanted, you worked hard for, and like you ask God, like, "Yo, open them windows, open those doors." Essentially, for me, going into that new role, something that's going to be like that step up, or something I prayed for. Once you get there, you start seeing the
reality of it.
Yeah, like you start seeing the challenges of it. Yeah. It's like, yo, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be. But I remember a conversation I had one day. It was just one janitor. Me and him became super cool. And someone had asked me a question that was like super offensive. And I reverted back to like the real me, like the Black me that came from Newburgh, New York, who's from the hood. And it wasn't like the political or green meat or the one that was going to like just like brush it off. And I remember him pulling me to the side and saying, "Listen, I've been working here for 25 years. This is the first time I've seen one of us in this room. You have to do well because you're going to affect the next 25 years."
Right.
And that conversation like resonated with me because it was just like, wow, my performance, this is like where you really get to see it's bigger than you.
It's not just you, right?
So it's like, it has nothing to do, even in that moment that I had right there, that moment of like vulnerability or moment of challenge where it's like, this is bigger than you. Like,
so what happens when you accept that?
And that's
what happens when you accept that where like your trajectory is going to naturally influence people. You know what I mean?
I do, and I don't. What I mean by when I say I don't, it's like that's the naive side of us, where we always like, I don't care about anybody else. It's about me. I'm just focusing on my journey, but your journey ultimately affects others. Now I think if I reverted back to your experience in Denver, if you went out there and you weren't a pro, you didn't show up on time, it's so many words you can use, but essentially that would affect the next Temple player who wanted to go to the league. Like Denver would never again look at a Temple player unless they were exceptional.
The Temple. when they say he went to Temple, the first thing they think of is the last guy that came here from Temple.
Right.
Yeah. So reputation too. Yeah.
And that also, like, I think that ties in with the fact of like imposter syndrome as well, meaning like you go into these rooms and you're constantly faced with the idea like, do I belong? And I say that because a lot of times do I belong has nothing to do with your natural abilities, with the actual product that you're servicing. So like in football, like you were a lineman, you knowing the plays, knowing how to work out, that was never the question. A lot of that comes from the idea of the personalities around you. Like, I don't naturally fit in with these people. Like, a lot of these people are completely opposite from me. But like, I think with age comes wisdom, and you start realizing that. Well, that's also why.
That's not a bad.
Huh?
That's not a bad thing.
Exactly. And you start thinking like, wow, so that, why is it so easy for the people around me I'm seeing just to like embrace who they are at this point, but not me at this time? Just that moment in time. You know what I'm saying? As the time goes, you eventually become yourself. But usually for us as males and as Black males, we usually don't have that time until we've done something that was highlighted. Like
socially. Yeah.
Like, oh, socially, we won the game because of Leon Johnson, or this was great. And that's when we become ourselves. Why is it so hard for us to come in and just be ourselves immediately?
I mean, I think a lot of shit goes into cultural, right? So culturally, we don't, and I hate speaking generally, but I hope people understand what I'm saying. We don't have that identity for the most part, or the identity that we have is something that we're not comfortable with. And if you look at that from a macro to micro, a person who's not comfortable with their personal identity or don't necessarily know who they are yet, they find these they have to attach to either material or something that socially gets accepted. And that's understandable. But I think being conscious of that is the first step of being able to turn it around, because it's some people who think the way it is for us is the way it's supposed, or the way it has to be, or God's curse, or you name it. And it's not. It's, if I make the decision to cross the street and not look, I'm going to get a certain set of results. If I make the decision to stop and I can't, I won't cross the street because I'm so afraid, I'm going to get a certain set of results. But if I do what it takes to make sure I'm safe, look both ways, and just go where I need to go, I can get a lot further, a lot more efficiently. You feel me? So life is just about making decisions. It ain't a right. It is a right and a wrong. That's the objective morality that we have. But life is just decisions. If you drink till you're drunk and you get in your car, that's a decision. And now, like you said about your path, your journey, you affect people. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
that's a physical, that's a physical path and journey where you're going to affect someone.
You understand, when you understand what your impact is, then you can hone in the behavior. We've had conversations like this so many times. It's like we're dress rehearsing. You know what I mean? Everything is so cyclical. It's figure out who you are first, and then you could channel the actions. You know what I mean? Same thing with your gifts. You figure out what gift you have, then you figure out how to channel it. It's all about figuring it out first. Who are you first? That's step one. There's no cheating that. And that's the hardest part, because you got to deal with the shit that's ugly, the shit that you would sweep under the rug to hide from other people. But that's growth though, you know? Facing those things is growth.
That's a good point, because I feel like we've all experienced it. You go into a room and you ask somebody like, who are you, or what do you do? And they immediately say their occupation. But the funny part about like their occupation is 90% of the time, that's not who you are.
Right.
Like, prime example, if someone's a bouncer at night and you ask them like what they do, they say they're a bouncer because they're in the industry. Like, that's not probably their 9 to 5, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
At work, there's never anyone you ask so what do you do that says, "Oh, I'm a father," or like, "I'm a dope ass best friend."
Right.
Like,
or I love helping people. Shit like that. People don't. No, it's yeah. And I never even thought of it like that. But yeah, nobody ever says that.
and like, I wish that could change because I feel like that would make me like open up more now. Like, oh, so what do you do? Oh, usually I drink and play basketball, but I mean, what I do for work, to make money and provide for the family, I work at X, Y, and Z. But for the most part,
Right.
I'm just
Distinguishing that is important. Being able to distinguish that is important. Yeah.
I'm interested in like seeing over time how things start to progress because in terms of diversity and inclusion, people are always trying to think about like bringing your true self to work. But is there ever a time we actually bring our true self, like even to our families, relationships, friends? Like, when do we actually bring our true self anywhere?
I think if you're able to do that, you could do it. And also, if you have relationships with people who foster that environment, you know what I mean? Then it's easier. It's a duality to it. It's where you are, is the environment somewhere where it cultures that behavior, and you know who you are. Have you gotten there yet? So yeah, of course people become them. I think we're our true selves when we're angry and when we're sad. Number one. And then it goes into, can you do that consciously? But I think certainly that's something that you can do consciously. Yeah.
But usually when we're angry and we're sad and we're our true self, we always apologize for it. You know what I mean? Like,
we're taught, well, that's where it goes to that relationship, right? Because what's the standard of the communication? If you can express yourself openly when you're upset and that be the situation, do it. But don't. We get upset and we have true emotions, and then we say things that like we will. If 75% will be what we mean, and then the one thing will be the jab to make them feel like we feel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
I think, and when people drunk, they them true selves, I guess. But who am I, right?
Right. I think, especially in terms of the idea of when I'm angry or sad, I'm speaking my true mind. That's the one time usually where most people are finally okay with separation. Because in good times, you don't want separation, or you don't want to be apart from that entity, that person, that relationship. But when you're angry, you see it for what it is, and it's just like, most of the times you say what you're thinking because you feel in your heart that you can remove that and still be okay moving forward. If you felt like you weren't okay moving forward without it, 9 times out of 10 you probably wouldn't say it.
That's debatable. That's debatable because you hear a lot of times where it's like, don't call me back, and then they call you back.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean?
I get it.
I don't, you name it, but they really do. It's the cry for help. It's the, you know what I mean? But I see where you're coming from though. I do see where you're coming from.
No, that's a good point though, in terms of like, don't call me back, but then they call you back. And it's like, but it's also an other side of that coin. There are the people that feed off of that energy. As opposed to not calling them back, they call them back 100 times. And it's just like,
right.
At what point does that turn into a liability, a crutch, or abuse? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not healthy. In my personally, I don't feel it's not a healthy environment. So what's leading to someone accepting that as normal? So
I seen something today, really. It was this guy was saying, I'm probably gonna butcher this, does the pain of being the person you don't want to be, or you know what I mean, like if you do drugs, the pain of being a drug addict, is that going to be greater or less than the fear of the unknown of trying to be better? I think that's the duality that we go through. I mean, if it hurts to be this, it gotta hurt worse to be something else. I guess that's the, you know what I mean? So we say, okay, well, I'd rather deal. Just like, it's like when we go in and we do a crazy leg workout and our legs hurt like shit. We know if we get in the ice or if we stretch, it'll hurt at the moment we started, but afterwards it'll feel better. We know this, and we still won't get in the ice.
No, seriously.
So imagine doing something and making it a habit and having no idea of the result of changing. It's like, why would I even try? Right. And I understand it. I've been there. I've been like, if I could just get mad and snap, if this is, I mean, if I could do that and get by, why would I change?
And I think what you're talking about right now leads to something that's severely important to our culture moving forward, and that's discipline.
Mm-hmm. Like, not even just our human culture, to be honest.
Yeah, right. I feel like discipline was practiced more in earlier times, though. And there's factual like numbers to prove this, though. Like in terms of
I give my opinion on what that is. I think our threshold where we could do shit that's not conducive to survival but still survive is wider than I think any other animal that exists. You know what I mean? Like we could eat shitty, not drink water, do drugs, and live. You know what I mean? We could do stuff that's not, you know what I mean? So I think back in the older times, it was harder to look at these untouched tribes that don't operate like we do Western civilization wise. It's harder. The everyday life is comprised of doing the shit necessary to survive. That has to keep you disciplined. It's so much convenience now where we can almost do nothing relative to survival and thrive almost. I mean, we see this with the difference in the class systems, like the ideologies we see the rich have, right? Their threshold for, I can think this way and I can think this negative way, or I can think this way that's anti-moral, anti-community, anti-whatever, but I can still exist because I have Gitas. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think to your point, you know, when survival is paramount, and that's actually interesting because it could go either way. When survival is paramount, you could be the most disciplined or completely undisciplined.
Because you know time is running out.
It's like and it's like, well, if time is running out, why do anything for tomorrow? And then there's people who's like, well, if time running out, then the most important time is now. So it's, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think in terms of time, I personally feel we're all on borrowed time. So in terms of living every day like yourself, I think that's true. You should, because especially now, like, I think COVID should have shown you that like tomorrow could be your last day. It was like a tangible like idea that tomorrow could be your last. So like, are you making the most use of your time? I don't know if you believe in afterlife or if you believe in a higher power, entity, or anything like that, but if anything, it should have had you focusing on your moral compass. But in terms of the idea of discipline, I think it's an idea that I encourage and challenge people to think about. Like if there's anywhere you want it to be and you're not there, think about the idea of discipline. Like how intense is your discipline? Like what areas are you practicing discipline? And figure out if you had discipline in certain areas where it could have led to. But also discipline in relationships. A lot of times we're like, damn, I wish I would have like communicated more with my mom or my family, or did this with my spouse. Different things like that. I think it all boils down to discipline. Accountability is a whole different topic, which will be another time. But just discipline is that one item. Like, what can I do over the next like 7 days to like increase or enhance my discipline? So whether that's like, I know when I wake up in the morning I'm tired. And why am I tired? Because I went to bed 4 hours earlier. So having the discipline to get more sleep, or when I go to work out and I've been trying to reach this goal, I've been trying to reach it for 6 months and I haven't reached it. Well, why? I'm not eating properly. So having a discipline to eat better.
Right.
like it's just different things like where you kind of already have the answer to it, like
Mhm.
finding the low-hanging fruit or finding the easy fixes and fixing those before you start worrying about like changing the world. Like change your world before you can change others' worlds or other people's world.
Jordan B. Peterson, man, and he said, clean up your own room before you go rearranging the world. That's fair. That's only fair. That's only fair. You got to practice against your own team before you go play the opponent. You know.
No, seriously. Nah,
And what's interesting about discipline is the antidote to regret. Like, we know what's right and wrong for the most part. Like, we could feel it. And when you say no to discipline, you say yes to regret. You know that if you eat good today, and if you stack this into a week and stack that into a routine, you know your body will change.
mm-hmm.
Well, if you could stay disciplined and do that, you won't have to look back and say, damn, I wish I started my diet a month ago. You know what I mean? So it all goes back to the mental health thing we both so passionate about. You know, we have more control over our mental health than we think. And you know, we talked about accountability briefly, but discipline is one of those first bricks that you lay down on your foundation of growth, man. I think so. I really believe that.
Is there any areas that you've been practicing or attempting to practice discipline, or is there any areas where you like want to start paying more attention to your discipline in that area?
Every area I'm practicing discipline. In my relationship, in my brotherhood, and my occupation, and my hobbies, and my diet, and everything. Because I mean, at the end of the day, fuck it being for somebody else. Like, you can't, you stress and you have so much more anxiety when you're playing the game the wrong way.
Right.
When you cutting corners and trying to cheat, stuff like that, it's stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're stressing, you got these crazy thoughts, and then these crazy thoughts lead to these ill-advised decisions, and these ill-advised decisions during your journey impact these other people. And then we look around and we say, well, if 100,000 people do that, what the fuck is the world? Where, you know what I mean? It's so easy to say, well, I wish the world was a better place. But if like you just look at the individual level, how disciplined are we as human beings? How disciplined are we as human beings? How many people have been negatively impacted by somebody's undisciplined behavior?
I think discipline, the biggest part of discipline is like our ability to limit the amount of times we say fuck it. Like what I mean by that is like I went to the gym 3 days in a row, so fuck it, I can miss today. Or I've been eating good for the last 2 weeks, so fuck it, I can do this. You know what I mean? Like it's so easy to get out of our habits because the minute you break your discipline is the minute you now have support on the opposite side. You have a foundation of, well, I did it this one time and it worked out. I did it this one time, it didn't hurt me. So like, that's kind of goes back to the idea of like, what are you doing when no one's watching? Like, yeah, I mean, like, I hate to go back to that sports cliche, but it's
not a cliche though. It's if the universe is infinite, right? What reward would the universe give you for being consistent? Right? If consistency is a finite version of infinity, right? Like if this does this consistently, it won't ever stop. That's infinity for the most part. So we live a finite life. If we can walk parallel with the consistency or the infinity of the universe, we put ourselves in better position. It's a choice, right? And I think the first thing that popped in my head, we've been game planning this. The first thing that popped in my head, honestly, for this is love discipline. You gotta love discipline. You gotta love feeling good and knowing you did the right thing more than that quick fix. Because the quick fix is just what it is. It's a quick fix. It's not gonna, if you plan on living a long life, what's the benefit of quick fixes? Or do you not plan a long life? Or do you not plan to live a long life, and why?
And
So
I think, just to interject right there, a lot of times that's where you really find out if you're mentally strong or not. Because
mhm,
within life, nothing's ever just going to be even in terms of scenarios. It's never going to be this,
no,
but it's up to you to be this. So, like, you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. And I think that's why it's super important to, one, have a foundation of yourself, meaning, what do you do when you get too high? What do you do when you get too low? Who are
mhm,
you surrounding yourself with? Like, is your executive cabinet the people that should be there? Or
right.
is it full of too many yes men? Or do you have too many negative people around you? You know what I mean? Because it can go both ways.
The balance. Yeah.
Do you have anybody around you who truly supports you and can see your vision? Even if they don't, do they support you in a way where they're able to critique you? They're also able to go the extra mile to get it out there. Yeah, I mean, and this has nothing to do with like just being an artist and entertainment place. This is everything. So like,
Yeah.
let's say you're a corporate worker and you're just trying to climb that ladder and get to your highest place possible. If there's no one surrounding you that sees the value you bring to a place or understands you, you're going to always hit a glass ceiling. Like
Mhm.
you're gonna see what's possible. But if people aren't advocating for you when you're not in the room, I don't care what industry you're in, what you're doing, it's gonna be a uphill battle. Because
Yeah.
like people thrive off relationships and they thrive off word of mouth. So
Mhm.
as much as like, how to put it, I you see someone every day like working on someone's house. And in your mind, like I see them every day, but I still don't know just yet if I want to get them to cut my grass. Because it's just like, yes, their grass looks
Yeah.
nice, but I don't know if I want
Yeah.
to do it. But you speak to that person who owns that house, and they go, yeah, they give me a great price. They do exactly the way I wanted to do. And they're always just personable. Like even when they communicate with me. So it's just like, now I'm assured. Now I feel
Right.
comfortable enough to invest in them as well. People just need to get, in order to get over that hump, a lot of times it's just word of mouth. It's that extra, they're okay, they're good people.
But like, people not gonna tell people to drink Sprite until they know Sprite is Sprite. You know what I mean?
Right.
Go back to consistency, the discipline. It's like, be you consistently, and somebody will come.
Yeah.
You'll make that money. You'll get that job. You'll get that big break. You'll get that opportunity. But you just be you, and it ain't. And this is what's beauty about it. This is the beauty about it. We can honestly say being yourself. Say it to 7 billion different people. Saying be yourself is just enough. But trying to be the person next to you,
You're never gonna
it's
master
an
it.
uphill battle.
You're never
It's an
gonna
uphill. You
master it.
can't master it because nobody can be you like you.
The crazy part
Nobody could
is,
be.
you know how hard it is just for you to be you? Like, think about how many times you have to change what you're going to say, or think about things about how it affects other people. Now also,
The,
now also add on the fact that you have to try to be them and think about those same things. You're doing quadruple the work. So
while not actually having the same experiences.
exactly. So it's almost easier to just be you and apologize later, as opposed to being them and apologizing for not being yourself.
To yourself, right? Yeah, yeah. Man, man.
But it's like, what the fuck do we know?
What do I know? I'm just a guy. Man, love discipline, man.
Love
Love
discipline.
discipline.
Listen, love discipline, love yourself, love your family,
Yes.
love your friends, love your community, but also love us.
Love us.
We're not perfect. We're definitely a work in progress, but we're here for you. So
At all times.
whatever that may mean to you, we're not even sure what it means to us. We just know it means a
Right.
lot.
Yeah, man.
But listen, I love you.
I love you, yo.
I love the world. I love everyone who's watching this right now,
Facts.
and who is going to watch it. At the end of the day, it's just like, we're just all trying to figure this shit out. So when we do,
Come with us.
Come with us. But if you figure it out first, please share that.
Let me know.
But all right, peace.
At this point, playing Minecraft. We craft mines. Look. Last night, asked the Lord if it was my last night, cause I can't waste a day if it's my last night. I can't be sad, right? Cause I done did my thing and on my past life, so I'm living every time like it's my last life. Last night, asked the Lord if it was my last night, cause I can't waste a day if it's my last night. I can't be sad, right? Cause I done did my thing and on my past life, so I'm living every time like it's my last life. Back tight, TSA bugging, I'm on the last flight. Cash right, can't tell I got it cause I don't brag right. If you wanna pick the car you want, you gotta sacrifice. Never let them times that you gon' eat fuck up your appetite. Don't get attracted to the ab at night. Watch out for them bitches that be doing shit for accent lights. We sad in life cause we only think we can rap or shoot basket lights. Our black women don't graduate the fastest, right? Pledge allegiance, XXT, but I'm never speeding. Glock 30 in my seats and I pray that I never need it. I remember when my teachers told me that I was bright, but at the same time underachiever. That bird to my core, this shit cut me up like a cheaper. I ain't believer, nigga got the success faster than cheaters. In that freak, I am the hottest nigga, the spit cold as freezers. Even back at Temple when a nigga used to G5G, I'm a leader. Last night, asked the Lord if it was my last night, cause I can't waste a day if it's my last night. I can't be sad, right? Cause I done did my thing and on my past life, so I'm living every time like it's my last night. Last night, asked the Lord if it was my last night, cause I can't waste a day if it's my last night. I can't be sad, right? Cause I done did my thing and on my past life, so I'm living every time like it's my last night.
Hey Lord, it's me again. Last night in this body, don't know if we'll meet again. I was battling my demons, you was tallying up my sin. You're the enemy of my enemies, I guess that make us friends. Hit you up and you ain't call back. Church just made me fall back. Pastors casting stone in the strip club watching that clap. That's like hearing last track. Need a bottle in the arch back. Ahead of all of my enemies, so I never have to blast back. Sex on beaches, neck full of gym. My life is a movie, sold it for a couple M's. Middle finger to the Karens, big ups to the kids. Red skies at my wake, let me die how I live.
Last night, asked the Lord if it was my last night, cause I can't waste a day if it's my last night. I can't be sad, right? Cause I done did my thing and on my past life, so I'm living every time like it's my last night. Last night, asked the Lord if it was my last night, cause I can't waste a day if it's my last night. I can't be sad, right? Cause I done did my thing and on my past life, so I'm living every time like it's my last night.
Gonna make it my best. I'm gonna make it my best. Last night. I wrote that whole gonna be in my